When the housing market outpriced and outsourced Paul's retired blue-collar calloused hands to the street, I felt compelled to tell him that home is where the heart is, as if summing up his entire experience in 6 words would absolve me of my privileged guilt. Even though I've had my fair share of bare cupboards, stuffed with crumbs and dried ketchup packages ravaged by the mice the cat was too tired and too hungry to manage. My clothes were so hand-me-down that I drowned in the nostalgia with every article I pulled overhead, understanding that each stain held a story, each hole a lesson in resistance and courage. My bed was never empty, often stuffed with one or both siblings' feet mingling, our spaces always kicking each other, but I could never say that I had no one to turn to, because I just had to roll over. But Paul's reality could very well be mine. And too often I find myself here, gambling on the edges of reality seemingly picked for me, stitching meaning into the patchwork seams that silverline my dreams until I'm left sweating on the outskirts, waiting for my card to be called. Left clutching these cards like discarded cloth caught on skeletal fingers shoved at my bottom closet. So I digress. I fold, I open my closet, and I go all in. Play the hand you've been dealt, they say. While kids were battling pickup lines, I was straddling the poverty line, welfare lines, grocery lines with coupons clutched and checks we knew would bounce. Color between the lines, they tell us. Well, how? When we aren't the ones drawing them, when we colored and they tried to stuff our art into thick-lined boxes that would never fit. Why don't you just try harder? Paul hears, as I sneer at his world in his card, as if it's proof that he hasn't tried hard his entire life because we can count his possessions with our eyes. As if all he had to do was stand in a different line, as if he wasn't already colored into a box we teach our kids to forget. As if the only thing standing between us and acceptance is change for our purses. Well, with pursed lips, I am begging for change. Sometimes he sleeps in a dirt-covered semi-trailer, forgotten in a lot, with a coffin of cacophony of screams in his head that his voice is too tired to shout. Of lines that were crossed, of words put in his mouth. And I told him that home is where the heart is. But what I need to tell him is that my need to tell him anything speaks volumes to my own ignorance and ego and assumption, and that the embodiment of empowerment doesn't come from sparing some change, but from sparing others from our own judgment, by demanding to see the humanity in humans, and by never leaving the house without first checking your privilege. Woo!